going to go over working with sound in Maya. Much like working with textures, Maya is just referencing the sound out from the folder which it finds it. So it's not actually saved within the Maya scene itself, it's simply referencing the sound in its location. So just like working with textures, you want to try to keep your hierarchy, how you have your folder set up, keep it correct for when working with sound. But we're going to ask to just simply keep the sound file in the same folder as the Maya file that you're working on. That way, as soon as the Maya file opens, it's immediately going to look in its parent folder, in the folder that it's located in. It's going to look there for any sound files first before actually following the path to the actual file name. So as long as the Maya file and the sound file are in the same folder, you shouldn't really have to run into any issues about it referencing and trying to find out the link between the sound file and the Maya file if you're moving things around or if you're uploading your scene for feedback and everything. Everything should be laid out for you then. Now we're going to be working with WAV files for our sound files. This allows us to use the sound files on either PC or Mac. You can use other file types, other sound file types, like AIFF and things like that, but sometimes you'll have issues running with those if you're going on other platforms. So just in case any students are actually working on the PC side of their computers, we do provide the WAV files. So that's why we're working with WAV files for these sound clips in this project. Now, to import the sound, we have two options. One, the long way is simply to go to File, Import, and then we'll have to navigate to it. Find our WAV file and import it. If it doesn't immediately come up here in the timeline, you have to right click, go to Sound, and make sure you find the actual sound file that you're using. And let's go ahead and delete that by going into Edit, Delete by Type, Sounds. We can delete the one we have. Now, the other way of doing this is simply to drag it into the timeline. In this case, here's my sound file. If I just take my WAV file here and choosing left mouse button, just drag it right over into the timeline there, it's going to import it. Just like if you were to drag a Maya file straight into the window, it would import the Maya file into this scene. So it's the same thing with sound. It'll just import it right into the timeline.
That's the dirtiest trick I ever heard of in my life.
Now, if you get to the point where you're playing this and you don't actually hear any sound, could be a few things that are incorrect here. You want to make sure that you're actually on the actual sound file and not on using track sounds. So if you come in here and it's just a straight line,
that's the dirtiest.
And you can play through it and hear sound, but as you're scrubbing through it, you don't hear any sound. That's what's the cause of that, is using track sounds instead of on the actual sound file itself. When I'm on the sound file itself, you can see the waveform, but also if I scrub through here, you can actually hear the sounds that's scrubbing through. Also, if this is on play every frame, you won't get any sound when you play back. Because again, play every frame is going to have a variable play speed. It's going to hit every frame, but not play back at a constant speed necessarily. It's going to depend on how dense your scene is. So play every frame doesn't really support the sound unless you're scrubbing through. But then it doesn't play. So we don't want that. We want to be able to actually scrub through, but also be able to hear our sound when we play it. So make sure you're playing at real time for your playback speed and your options there. Now obviously when you bring your sound in, it's going to come in right here at the beginning of the scene, and that's probably not where you want your sound to be. You have other things you need to do in your scene, such as the motion change, maybe doing the walk, and so forth. So you'll need to be able to push your sound down further. To do that, you want to right click in the timeline, go to sound, go to our sound file, and the option box here. This is going to bring up our attribute editor for our sound file. And the one we're really going to focus on is going to be offset. Here you can see the file name, so in case, again, if your scene gets lost and you need to relink it somewhere, you can always go and re-navigate back to that sound file, so you don't have to re-import anything like that or anything if you end up putting the sound file in a different folder than it originally was, different from the Maya scene. You don't need to go and re-import it. You can just go and re-navigate to it, and the link will reset and reconnect itself and still keep the offset, which is what we're going to be discussing now. Offset is basically how many frames into the scene you want your sound file to start, and by default it's at 0. But let's say if we want this to start at frame 200. So we type in 200, and it's going to shift our sound file down so that 200 is the new start of the sound file. So all through here, we don't hear anything until we get to there. Do want to keep in mind also that if you do move your timing around and you have keys on this area, such as you already have started animating the character to act with the sound file, anytime you move the sound file, make sure to move the keys as well. So you want to use your select all mail button and shift your keys in time as well, because this is only affecting the sound itself when the sound is coming in. So to keep everything synced up, you'll want to move the keys by the same number of frames there. That's going to cover working with sound in Maya. Again, very straightforward, but want to make sure that you always present the sound file so that it is able to link to the Maya file that we'll be viewing. Thanks for watching.